originally planned to do this video tonight, but it was so nice after I got out of work that I figured I'd just go for a ride. The weather is still pretty warm right now. It was really warm all day, and tomorrow doesn't really look that good, so I figured I'd just come out and do a little bit of ride and then touch on another topic that I wanted to talk about. Pretty much it's beginning tips for riders, or riding tips 101 if you wanted to word it that way. It's basic stuff, but it's probably one of those things that a lot of newer riders may overlook, or information that they're kind of looking for, or it's just good to hear it in general. And by no means an expert or anything like that, but it's just things that I've picked up on over the years. Probably one of the main thing to remember when you're riding is that the way you have to look at it is every other car that's out there, or truck, or whatever it is, you have to assume that nobody ever sees you, because there have been so many times where I thought that I was really visible to a car that was oncoming or making a turn, and you're really not. It's just amazing that the amount of people that don't pay attention or that don't recognize bikes. And if it's not something that you're conscious of and looking out for your own, you know, it just makes it that much more difficult. I think I'm fairly visible overall as far as the gear that I wear and my bike in general, but there was a time last year, back when the bike was still tribal orange, I have HIDs on the bike too, so it was pretty bright, and I had a passenger on the back, and there was a car that was like off to the left hand side that was waiting to pull out into traffic and come into my lane in front of me, and I wasn't that far ahead of them, or wasn't that far away from getting to where they were, and they just pulled it out in front of me. I was like, how can you not see me? I have a bright orange jacket on and an orange colored bike and two people with helmets on, which is more visible than if you don't wear a helmet, and they didn't even see me. And it's just, you know, it's one of those things you really have to be conscious and aware of and always looking out for, is, you know, especially cars that are turning, because that's the majority of accidents that happen with the bikes, is cars waiting to make a left-hand turn. Another thing that I picked up on over the years is that, you know, you go to take a motorcycle course and they tell you to ride over here next to the yellow line, because that's where you're most visible to oncoming traffic coming towards you. But I don't like to ride here. There's too many people that don't pay attention, that text and drive and do too much other crap other than driving, and all it takes is a matter of a few feet for someone to come over this line. If you're riding, you know, like right here close to it, it's only a matter of a few feet, you know, from a car over on this side. I always like to ride to the right of the center, like right over here. I don't like to ride in the middle, because that's where a lot of cars drop fluids and oil and stuff like that, and especially at intersections. You never want to stay in the middle lane at an intersection. But in just general riding, I always like to ride over to this side. And I think the reason why they tell you not to do this is because if you're, like, if I was closer to that, whatever the hell that thing is, up in front of me, say it was like a full-size truck, if you're right up close to it like this, and there's a car coming the opposite way, waiting to make a turn to come across to you, if they can't see you behind the vehicle that's in front of you, and that vehicle goes by, they probably think I'm good to go, and they will just automatically make that turn. So if you're stuck over here on this side, tucked up behind them, if they don't see you, they could possibly take you out making that turn. So if you are going to ride to the right of center, you have to remember to, you know, stay back a little ways from the car in front of you, so that any oncoming traffic that is waiting to make a turn coming across does see you before they make that sudden move. Because especially if there's cars behind you that are a little bit ways back and they're trying to beat them before they, you know, so they can still make that turn, they're going to come flying right across. And if they don't see you, I guess one of the other tips, I mean, this is, a lot of this is for general riding, but some of it is more sport bike oriented as well. I try to make a generalization for all riders and all types of bikes, but some of this stuff is geared more towards sport bikes just because that's what I ride. So it only makes more sense that I would, have more information in this area. But a lot of people don't understand how to ride sport bikes. They think that the leaning forward position like this is meant so that you hold yourself up with your arms and your hands on the handlebars as far as putting your weight forward, and you don't do this, not on a bike. Well, you can, but in a matter of a couple miles your hands are going to be numb and your arms are going to be sore. It's not the proper way of how to do it. The proper way to ride a sport bike is that you want your inside of your legs here to hug the tank and grip it, and you want to hold it tight up against the tank, and you want to hold yourself up with your core muscles in your stomach, your abdomen, and that's how you hold yourself up. You want your arms, when they're on the handlebars like this, to be really loose, and so they can, you don't want to be having a death grip on the bars. You want very little pressure on the bars, just enough for throttle control and to make adjustments to steering, but you don't want to be hunched over with all your weight forward and stiff and death grip in the bars, because you'll wear yourself out in just a matter of a half hour and your hands will go numb. And it's probably why sport bikes got the reputation of being uncomfortable and things like that, because if you do not ride them properly, then you will have a lot of issues as far as how quickly you tire out. And it's like that for any sport bike, really. And they're all a little bit different as far as how they feel and how you sit on them. Like this particular model, the 05 and 06 CBR, it has a really high seat position, so you feel as though you're sitting on top of the bike and everything is like down, you're looking down below on everything. You have that real high center of gravity. In other bikes and even other CBRs of different years, they have different seating positions where you feel as though you're sitting more inside the bike as opposed to sitting on top of it, and that definitely changes a lot between brands. So if you're looking to buy a bike, it's not a bad idea to sit on different models. And another thing that I see riders do as far as bad body posture or bad rider position, and this is geared more towards sport bikes, but people tend to ride with the middle of their feet on the peg, and you want your ball of your foot to be resting on the peg so that just the very end of your foot is sticking over the edge of the peg. Because if you're riding with the middle of your foot sitting on the peg so that your toes are pointed down, if you were to have an accident or low side or anything like that, the first thing that's going to hit is a toe of your foot, and it's going to bend back against your, almost a dead squirrel, it's going to bend back against your peg and it will break your ankle, or even worse, if it can get worse than that, but it will definitely fuck your ankle and your leg up, having your toe hit the ground and bent back like that. So you have to ride with the ball of your foot on your peg. And whenever I pass another sport bike, I think I rarely tell what the bike is, because I'm always looking at how other people are riding, and I see so many people that ride with the very middle of their foot on the peg and their toes are pointing down like that, and it's just not proper rider position and not how you should be riding. And I feel as though I don't tire out as easy either if I have my balls of my feet on the peg so that my legs are up higher. Plus you can rest your hands on top of your knees like this, instead of having it, if you have your foot on the middle of the peg like it is now, your knee is pointed down and your hand wants to slide off it. But if you have just your ball of your foot on, it's more of a flat surface to rest your hand on, and I rest my hand on the tank a lot too. I don't ride with both hands on my handlebars very often. I usually just have my right hand on the throttle and my other hand is usually free. And also, if you do have a sport bike, one of the huge things that I first started to do this year, I'd never bought these before, but is to buy tank pads that stick to the side of your tank. They're usually made out of rubber or minor tech spec. They also have another brand too. I can't remember what the hell of the name of it is off the top of my head, but these are pads that stick to the side of your tank, and when your legs are you know, squeeze in the tank and press up against it, it keeps you from sliding forward. And when you come into a stop or anything like that and you're applying the brakes, you know, just the force of gravity and everything else is pushing you forward, and it makes you want to slide forward on the tank right up against it. But these tank pads really help a lot as far as keeping your body from sliding around on the bike, and especially after you just wash the bike and wax it and the plastic is really slippery. If you know, try and grip the tank with jeans on, or even if you're wearing leathers or anything like that, it's still going to be slick up against that surface without, you know, something up there that's a little bit more grippy that will keep you from sliding forward. One of the books I read a while ago, which I still refer back to, was called Total Control. Had a lot of great information, a lot of good, you know, just stuff that you want to learn on your own, and stuff you want to go back to and just brush up on if it's been a while since you've been riding. One of the other books, which is extremely common, which is recommended by a lot of people, is called Twist of the Wrist 2 by Keith Code. It's Twist of the Wrist 1 and Twist of the Wrist 2. And he's a former professional racer, and he offers a wealth of knowledge for anyone that's, you know, willing to take the time to read the books. He also has a video on YouTube called Twist of the Wrist 2, and that's a really good to watch. And the thing about these books and videos is that it transcends all different types of bikes. It's not just geared towards sport bikes or anything like that, even though they primarily focus on sport bikes because they're ex-racers. It's information that is, you know, it goes for all types of bikes, so it's, no matter what you're riding, it's real good to try and get a hold of any of those, whether it's a book or video, and just brush up on it from time to time, just as a refresher. Like, I go through and reread stuff and re-watch stuff at the beginning of every year. Just, you know, up here, your riding season's done in October, unless you're a real hardy rider and want to, you know, try for November riding, but usually my season's done by October, and it's a long time to go from October to April or May until you ride again. So it's easy to forget about stuff, and you know, you want to start out the riding season with the same good habits that you had what you left off with. You don't want to start a new riding season and be rusty and start to develop bad habits. So it's always good to go back and remind yourself of what you're supposed to be doing while you're riding as well. So I hope I was able to offer some of you some advice out there if you're thinking of riding or new to riding and just looking for general tips and everything like that. After I get this edited and everything and I post the video, I'll have some links in the description of the video for the videos that I was talking about and the books and stuff like that. So if you want to look into buying any of that stuff or checking it out, I'll have it right there so you can click on it. I'm going to enjoy the rest of the nice weather while we have it, and we'll see everyone soon. Later.